I've been kind of cutting off the intros because hardly anybody watches them, but I need to address something real quick today. A lot of people have been commenting and messaging me about reacting to Detective Void's videos, and there was some drama apparently how he copy-striked another YouTuber named Isaiah Cozy. I don't know Isaiah. I respect him because he's another content creator on the platform, as I do everyone else. I don't want any drama at all, you guys. All I know is I sent Detective Void an email requesting permission, as I do for all the other channels. He responded and he told me that I could react to his channel, so that's what we're gonna do today. At any rate, y'all, I don't want any hate in the comments or anything like that. It's all love over here. That's what we do, okay? SCP-1487 today is Beautiful Bones, and it's by Detective Void. Make sure to go give him a subscription. Hit the notification bell if you like reaction videos. Subscribe to my channel as well. Let's get into this reaction.
I just came across an old video clip of Hey Boy, Hey Girl by the Chemical Brothers.
On an old
it
TV
reminded
too.
me of the mystery of Beautiful Bones.
Chemical Brothers was dope back in my day.
On this channel, I share the results of my investigations on SCP objects.
I like your mask,
it's pretty
dude.
clear as to why I don't reveal my true identity.
Right.
So, Beautiful Bones is
his voice changes between
nickname, so to speak.
different
What
episodes
follows is
too.
information about the object known to SCP Foundation staff with level 2 security clearance.
Okay.
This is information for restricted
Did you steal
use,
that
and
badge?
yes, I managed to get a hold of it. Perhaps later I can tell you how, but for
Okay,
now,
good.
let's get back to SCP-1487.
Right.
The object itself is just a teenage girl. This
Okay.
15-year-old Filipino girl, 70 centimeters high, weighing 70 kilograms, belongs to the Euclid class.
I never
Indeed,
know
this
the
classification is norm for containing
difference in
humanoids with
kilograms and
abnormal
meters.
properties. As such, SCP-1487 is kept in a standard chamber,
Okay.
number 3821, in Zone 23, the zone designated
Locked
for
her up.
humanoid life forms. We know that the object was discovered in the state of Tennessee, USA on November 29,
Hey,
2012.
they're kind of my
she
neighbors.
was a typical girl named Saffron.
Not that long
the exact
ago either.
moment her abnormal properties manifested has not
Well,
been
8 or
recorded.
9 years.
According to her account, this happened about 2 months before she was found by Foundation staff.
Okay.
SCP-1487's anomaly is that instead of people and other living creatures, she sees only their bones. More accurately, she
Gosh.
cannot interact with any body parts of living organisms, the only exception being their internal skeleton. This property doesn't apply to
so she
invertebrates
could-
or creatures with exoskeletons.
So
Worms,
she's when she
insects,
touches them,
mollusks, you get
it's
the
just the
picture.
bones.
The anomaly doesn't
What?
apply to the inanimate matter either. The phrase "cannot interact" means that she cannot
Detective
see
Void
them
got a little
and
stain
can't
on his
touch
shirt.
them. In an interview
Maybe
with
a coffee
Foundation
stain?
scientists, SCP-1487 said that her hands began to pass freely through people's skin and
Wow.
flesh, but that she could both see and touch their bones.
That's so
Saffron
weird.
started to experience problems with social
Can
interactions.
I hold your
as
hand?
she
No,
simply
girl,
could
you
not
gross.
distinguish
Come on.
people from each other by their skeletons alone. But SCP-1487 got used to this quickly. Moreover, she doesn't have a negative attitude about her ability. Saffron even learned to see the beauty in the skeletons of individual
Alright.
people, which is why she was nicknamed
Beautiful Bones.
The experiments
I thought
that
her
scientists
bones were
conduct with
beautiful.
the object
I mean,
take
she's a
place under the
good-looking gal and
supervision
all,
of at
but
least 2
I'm married. Don't get the
specialists
wrong
with no
idea.
less than level 3 security clearance. SCP-1487 is also restrained from physical contact when in the presence of people and other living organisms.
Okay.
The only exception is during specially organized active experiments.
Right.
Leading the investigation of SCP-1487 was Dr. Miles Wright, a specialist in the study of anomalous children and teenagers.
Right.
Here's where things start to get
I
more
like his little
interesting.
bulletin board
Wright
back
conducted
there.
weekly interviews with the object to observe her. Sometimes, in addition to those conversations, he would drop in on Saffron for a few minutes unannounced.
Okay.
Foundation documents indicate that only the doctor was allowed to call the object by her name, and everyone else had to use the designation SCP-1487.
Is that
After arriving in
regulation
Zone 23,
or a
the
little
object
bit of
first contacted
corruption,
Dr. Wright.
maybe?
The initial conversation
liked
was
her?
recorded in minutes of interview 1487 Delta. During this conversation, SCP-1487 was relaxed and exhibited the characteristic behavior and vocabulary of a teenager.
Of a teenage
When the
girl.
doctor introduced
Typical.
himself and offered that the object could address him however she wanted, Saffron replied that she would call him Miley, like the shitty singer.
Oh.
Her words, not mine. She was probably talking
God,
about
that's
Cyrus
low,
Hill.
bruh.
Doesn't really matter, other than the fact that she apparently doesn't like the singer. In the interview, SCP-1487 described how she
That's
first
good
discovered
stuff.
her anomaly. She
Wow.
didn't understand what was happening and was scared.
Get off
Eventually,
my
she realized
tibula,
that
girl.
her hands were passing through
Don't-
human flesh, allowing
don't
her to
touch my
feel the
tibula
person's
or my
bones.
fibula.
Now, by the way, she really enjoys this.
I think that's the right.
No judgments
I don't
here.
know which bones
During
they
the
are.
same
Maybe that's the
period,
legs.
SCP-1487 started to see skeletons. At first, it was only some people, then more and more. Taking
So
her
it
eyes off a
happened
person
over
made of flesh
time
and then looking back at them,
to
Saffron
where-
could see only their skeleton and vice versa. At
That's
the time of
kind
recording
of
this
a curse,
interview,
huh?
the girl that is, if I have your permission to call her that. Anyway, at this point, she still wasn't seeing everyone as being made of bones. Notably, as the girl
stain
herself
gets me.
reported, Dr. Wright continued to
I keep
remain in
noticing
human
it.
form. She also said that the anomaly affects her perception of living creatures in photographs and other images too. After that, the interview was over. The following
So she even sees the bones in pictures?
The girl
In
jumped and
video?
chattered away as usual. Dr. Adelaide Fredericks, a specialist in child psychology, also observed some of the interviews.
You get to
Wright
recognize
introduced the
their
woman
bones?
to Saffron, but the girl joked that she wouldn't be able to identify her skeleton during the next meeting. The minutes of these interviews were marked with the letters of the Greek alphabet, but not in order. Because of that, I can't say exactly how much time passed from the moment the teenager was placed in the zone until the conversation I'm about to share with you. Presumably about a month, maybe a little longer. During Wright's visit described in the Epsilon document, the girl behaved in a completely different way. She was quiet and answered questions curtly and abruptly. The doctor kept asking about any changes or news from her week. He recalled the large number of experiments conducted during that period. It looks like he wanted to hear about a specific incident, but SCP-1487 never made contact.
She's not real happy.
A week later, the girl refused to speak directly with
Too
Wright
much prodding.
The next interview
Maybe
was
she's
conducted
getting a
by
little
Dr.
agitated.
Fredericks. Saffron told her that when she had arrived at the Foundation Zone, she had seen both skeletons and creatures, so to speak, in their entirety. Eventually, they all turned into walking bones. All of them, except for Dr. Wright. The teenager was terrified. She asked Fredericks for help, demanded that Wright not be allowed near her again, and started to get hysterical. The doc decided that this was a little suspicious and wrote a report to the director of Zone 23, Roger Langley.
What's going on with that?
He examined inside and out, blood analysis, DNA testing, and any
so
skeletons
he's different?
in his closet. This phrase seems quite symbolic given the circumstances, doesn't it? But what happened next? Well, since December 19th, 2012, no one has seen Dr. Wright. As far as I know, Foundation operatives continue to search for him.
He disappeared?
The SCP Foundation itself has considered using the girl to identify any employees with the same phenomenon as Wright. Only no one knows what this phenomenon even is. Nor do they know where the doctor
whether it's
went,
dangerous
whether he was
or
actually a
just
doctor or
something.
even human.
Maybe he fled because he was scared that they would
I don't
contain him
consider
because
these
he's an
sorts of
SCP.
theories, that she was so used to seeing bones that the lone body of the doctor drove her crazy. This seems very unlikely, especially given the fact that apparently an ordinary normal teenager not only got used to the sight of skeletons within the span of 2 months, but that she also grew to love them.
There's
got to
be something
at the sight of a human body
going on.
I'm no Stanislavski, of course, but I don't believe it. This raises the question, why was SCP-1487 classified as Euclid when so many other sentient humanoids have fallen into the safe category?
Right.
But this isn't all that important to me.
Okay.
What's important
I love
is
his
does the girl see
investigative
clothes on
prodding.
people? All of these reports only talk about bones, but not about clothed skeletons. It's said that her hand passes through skin and flesh, but there's no indication as to whether they also pass through fabric of clothing. And what would happen if you put gloves on her hands? Nor did I manage to find out whether there were any experiments conducted to test the ability of her other body parts to pass through matter. This is pretty obvious, so I guess there were. It was precisely these test results that should have affected
Great
what
animation
class the object
quality,
was
by the way,
assigned to. SCP-1487 is a Euclid. With such a harmless abnormal property, this is an unjustified classification, even for a sentient humanoid. Therefore, I believe that both Saffron's gaze and body penetrate through fabric, too. There's another important aspect to this. The consequences of these infiltrations. The fact that the girl doesn't see flesh is one thing, but what happens to living tissue in Saffron's hand enters it? I guess nothing. If her infiltrations caused physical damage to living creatures, it would have been indicated, even in the documents for
she would have
employees
done
with
some
level 2
damage
clearance.
prior
This
before,
detail is
right?
noted in the containment protocol and
I
should
stole
be
your
taken into
vertebrae, boy.
account
What
in
you gonna
case of
do?
violation. Thus, something happens to the girl's body
That's like
itself
a
when she
Mortal
invades the
Kombat
bodies
fatality.
of other living creatures, bodies she cannot see. So that's what prompted me to mention the Chemical Brothers at the beginning of this video. In it, a schoolgirl was so interested in bones that over time she started to see skeletons instead of people.
Chemical Brothers
the same thing should have happened with SCP-1487. She could have done this herself, or it could have been done by some external psycho-anomalous object or force. This explains why Saffron doesn't perceive clothing, which isn't living matter. And more importantly, she sees skeletons instead of living creatures in pictures.
Even in pictures.
We can all agree that living matter and its image
that was
are
a
two
drawing.
completely
It
different
wasn't even a
things
portrait.
from physical, chemical, biological,
painting,
and
I
many
should
other
say.
points of view, but not from the psycho-emotional perspective. This means that her perception must be programmed regarding both what to see and what not to see. When her
almost
brain
like an
identifies an
idea.
object or its image as a living being, a mechanism is triggered.
Right.
It keeps the girl from recognizing everything that covers the subject's skeleton, both flesh and clothing alike. This is quite an advanced case of prosopagnosia. A disorder in which people are practically unable to perceive and recognize faces, but have no trouble with other objects.
Weird,
if the girl
dude.
had been affected by some sort of virus or mimetic object,
very
Foundation
glad I
scientists
don't
would
have
found
that.
it.
There's
On top
some
of that,
weird
Saffron wouldn't
diseases
be
out
classified as SCP, but as infected. Therefore, I'm inclined to believe that she has the anomalous property, not the other way around.
Right.
But I consider her ability to penetrate through flesh as a side effect of the main anomaly, existing in several dimensions at once. You can also call it parallel worlds or parallel universes.
Okay.
What are we dealing with here? The girl sees and perceives the reality occupied by you and me, so she also resides in it. At the same time, the girl can penetrate the flesh of living beings in this dimension with her power. She also cannot see or establish contact with a significant portion of matter.
Get your hand off my kidney, boo. That's creepy.
Flesh and the things that cover it. Therefore, these things don't exist for her. This simply cannot be within the same dimension, but this is possible for a living being who exists in two versions of the same reality
like another
simultaneously.
plane.
It's sort of similar to the practical version of Schrodinger's cat. Saffron exists in the intermediate, blurry state when the cat is both alive and dead at the same time. According to the rules of the experiment,
That's
if
weird,
an outside
dude.
observer appears, they will determine a single state of existence for the cat. In the case with the girl, the observer determines a single dimension. Time to go back to Dr. Wright. So
Okay.
there was clearly something wrong with him. The fact he appeared as a body of flesh in the girl's eyes clearly speaks in favor of some sort of anomaly.
Right.
Given my conclusion regarding SCP-1487's
And maybe that's why he
ability
fled.
to exist in different dimensions, Wright may also be a creature from a parallel universe.
It's true.
Maybe the girl found this out, and so she refused to communicate with him going forward. As for the doctor's disappearance, I see two possible options.
Okay.
First, he realized the Foundation would discover him and he ran away.
That's what I
Second,
thought.
Saffron saw him as a danger and destroyed him. I'm currently trying to get a hold of the documents regarding Wright's medical investigation and the experiments with SCP-1487. I'll definitely share any news about the object with you when I have it.
Sweet.
Until then, share your thoughts below. What about Dr. Wright had Saffron so scared? Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'll tell you many more interesting things in upcoming videos.
Thank you, Detective Void. That was a really, really cool SCP. The fact that the doctor was anomalous himself, I can only imagine that he had some sinister intent there, and that's why things went crazy. And she was gonna report him, you know, and he fled. That I assume it was the first theory. At any rate, this was a really, really cool one. Guys, make sure to subscribe to Detective Void and check out another couple SCP reactions that I think you'll love. Thanks so much for watching. As always, this is Zueljin signing off. We'll see you next time.